Good day, everyone. My name is Bayanda, and I am the treasurer of the UKZN's Finance Society. We are currently gathered for a talk entitled Human Rights and Young People, Reimagining a New Africa. We are here to discuss the current state of economics for young people in this country and broader on this continent. And I'm joined by, from your far left, the president of Enactus UKZN, and that is Cebo Ndlovu. He is studying a BCom in accounting, and as the president of Enactus, they are managing 4 campuses, which excludes our medical school campus. And his team is the leading team in South Africa out of 26 universities. Next to him, we have... Yes. Next to him, we have Gift Pewa. He is currently doing his honors in gender studies, and he is the chair of Howard College's SRC. And next to Gift, we have Ustabile Nene. She's from Osizweni in Newcastle. She's currently doing her third year studies in finance, marketing, and economics. And she is the Finance Society's PR officer. And then finally, we have Mr. Tandolwe Kongo. He is our president as the Finance Society. He's from the Eastern Cape, and don't we just love him? Okay, so human rights and young people, reimagining a new Africa. Maybe I'll start just around the panel. All of you guys, what does human rights mean to you specifically? I think we'll start with you, Cebo.
All right, awesome. Thank you, by the way, Mr. Cele, for facilitating the session. I'd firstly like to say I'm excited by being here. I think human rights is a step of us young leaders taking leadership roles like this to actually write our own future. So it's having the ability to choose in a world where we've got so much freedom from the past that we're coming from. Hence, we celebrate the rights, we celebrate the development that the government or the world has decided to give the power to the young people. So it's all about how we exercise that right to make a brighter future. And going back to the topic that we are talking about, our Africa, what's the Africa we want to see? So having that power on your hand is a right itself that is superseding any power you could have as a young person. Thank you.
No, thanks and greetings to everyone who's present today. Indeed, my name is Gift Pewa, the chairperson of Howard College. So I welcome you, everyone here. No, one must start by mentioning that you can't mention human rights without touching the apartheid. We will start from there and the transition from there to where we are today. So one can say that the transition is slowly, but yes, we appreciate the human rights or the rights that we have today. We are able to access places that we were unable to access back then. Our mothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, that we were unable to access. So now, in a space that we are in today, we are able to access, interact with people that we were unable to interact with. So that's how we view the transition and how it assists us, those who were disadvantaged back then, to where we are today. So it goes to say analyzing in the times that we were living under apartheid to where we are today, just to check the progress and how it has benefited everyone who's living in South Africa. So, yeah, thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Thabile Nene, and as Bayanda said, I am the current Public Relations Officer of the UK Debt Finance Society. I think to me, as what it means is that looking back at what our parents and our grandparents experienced and went through, the struggles that they fought for us as the current younger generation to live in a better society, an improved society, an equal society for all. It's all about what contribution we can make to make sure that it's even better for the people that come after us. And what is our contribution as the young people? What can we do to combat the issues that society currently has, to make sure that our kids and our grandkids even live in an even better world that we are living in now, even though we are privileged than the generations that come before us. Thank you.
Well, good day, everyone. I hope you're all doing very well. Thank you, Program Director, for that lovely introduction. It's not every day that someone will tell you that they love you. So I must say, yes, it's very unusual. So when it happens, you must grab it with both hands. So thank you very much. And to the panel itself, it feels good to be part of the discussion, because that's what human rights to me means. It means I get an opportunity to be part of the decision making. I get an opportunity to be part of the movement, because remember, we can't start speaking about human rights only in the current format. We have to have an understanding of where we're coming from, an understanding of who we are, what makes us who we are, and then we'll be able to fully capture and grasp the context in which we are living in terms of human rights. So that's what human rights to me means: being part of a process, being part of the solutions, and being able to contribute, which I think is very critical in today's society, you know. And it's beautiful to note that the entire panel, most of us have never experienced apartheid ourselves, but we can sit here comfortably and discuss it without actually knowing how it was. We only have secondary information about it, which again must be appreciated, because our parents did the deed, they did the work that has brought us here to even be able to speak about such topics. So I just wanted to pass by there, you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess to answer my question and to also speak to gifts interpretation, if you ask me, there are two ideas that we tend to conflate a lot, and that is human rights themselves and the recognition of human rights. To me, human rights are universal. Our parents had human rights, and they were fighting for the South African government to recognize the human rights they already had. So I'd like to ask the panel maybe, to what extent does that analysis maybe speak to you?
No, if I can just come in, because really, when we look at it, human rights are inalienable. That's the word the most constitutional practitioners will give you. You are born with it. By virtue of being a person or an animal, you have rights, and those rights are yours. No one can take them away. But it becomes a problem now when it comes to the issue of recognition of those problems, of those human rights. It's true. If you look at our history, from maybe the 1800s, or even starting from the period of colonization, it has always been the case that there's always a sector of society that always seeks recognition, which is what we were actually dealing with when you look at the history of South Africa. So we must be able to recognize between these two terms, one being human rights and one being recognition in a way.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. President. I think maybe I'd like to further ask, and to the audience as well, if you have anything to say, what do you believe is currently our society's most unrecognized human right?
Good day, everyone. My name is Ndabe Zintle, and I am the member of the business unit of the Finance Society. And to answer your question, Bayanda, I think because we are addressing the challenges of the youth in terms of human rights, at the moment we are really struggling with youth participation. We are seriously underrepresented in politics, even in employment. The youth unemployment is dismal, especially in this country. So I think it's critical that we encourage our current leaders to include young people in decision making. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Ndabe Zintle. And I'm grateful for you touching on the issue of youth unemployment. It's something I read into prior to our discussion today, and as of December 2021, the youth unemployment rates in South Africa was 66.5%. That's nearly 2 in every 3 young people being unemployed. And even that number is generous given that the definitions of unemployment lean towards excluding those who aren't even looking for work. So in South Africa, it turns out that we have more than 10.5 million young people, and of those 10.5 million people, only about 3.4 million are employed. So I'm going to pose the question to the group. Again, what do you believe these statistics could be attributed to?
No, I would like to say something to contribute my 2 cents on this discussion. I think Ndabe Zintle has submitted something that is very interesting. One must say that to the youth must not wait for invitation. We must not wait to be invited. So ours is to identify our struggle. Ours as the youth is to identify how are we going to channel ourselves. Right now the youth is divided. One is taking that direction and the other one is taking a different position. So we must not wait for elders to lower the statistics, to lower those numbers. It's easy. The youth must invite themselves, identify what could work for them. The youth is tired to send CVs, to write CVs. Every day you write CVs and there's no response. But if we have something on our own, then we build from that. Let us find a foundation for ourselves. It's difficult to go and always ask, or request. Whereas we can sit like this, share ideas and support one another. It's simple, just like that. So we'll bring someone who's successful in the business and come and fund the idea. But let us start our own thing with our own mission, ideas, and vision. I think that's where we should start as young people, not to wait for the elders, the government, or whoever, because we are people who must channel or must hold government accountable. We must invite government ourselves. We must not wait for them to invite us in our own problems, in bring our own solutions on the table. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. I think another factor that contributes to statistics like our youth unemployment is an infringement of one of the human rights, which is the right to equality. South Africa is one of the most unequal countries in the world, and that also means our economy is unequal. So this means it's not catered for what I may say is the majority of our country. And if a majority of our country can participate without jumping through hurdles first, then obviously it's going to lead to youth unemployment. It's going to lead to a lot of majority youths not being able to get the same opportunities as other people. So I think that also contributes to the problem, the right to equality.
No, I just wanted to come in because really this is an issue. It being an issue, it requires us to provide solutions, what we think might be solutions. But I just want to come in and touch on something that disturbed me the most. You know, it's very expensive to look for employment. It's very expensive, and I can say this for most people. You know, there's a person who has done a 3-year course. During that time, they accumulated student debt, right? For whatever reason, they decide not to continue into postgraduate level of studies. So they go back home, and we expect this same person to be able to compete with someone from a suburban area that has resources to be able to actively look for employment, right? Because we need to look into that. A friend of mine was telling me that on a normal day, just normal day, they receive around about 14 regret letters or emails on a normal day, right? What contributes this? What contributes to that is the fact that this person applying from home, from a rural area in Lusikisiki, they have to look into the issue of having Wi-Fi. They have to take a contract from these cell phone companies that are very much exorbitant, right? Beyond that, they have to be able to move whenever required in terms of trying to gather documentations or whatever that is needed. It's a very, very much costly as a process on its own. So it, again, contributes now to the numbers of people that in economics would say they are not, what's the term for people who are not looking for employment? Unmotivated, yes. Discouraged. Yes, that's the word. So it contributes towards that because when they look at the task before them, they see the cost side of it, firstly, which we cannot run away from. So I just wanted to come in from that perspective and also highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. President, and thank you for Ndumiso for your contributions. I think speaking on the matter of inequality, to me, inequality is a function of power structures. You know, power structures create inequalities, and I think a critical part of addressing our economic concerns and our concerns societally is a matter of addressing power structures. I think, Gift, you also shed some light on power structures and how we can upset those and restructure the power dynamics in our country to better serve our people. Could you maybe go deeper in that explanation?
Cha nje mfowethu ayihluphi lento. Ayihluphi. Emzansi indlela edesignwe ngayo ilentuzi i society. We must appreciate that we are not equal. and somehow we will never be equal, to be honest. So now, how we are going to solve our own issues? Let us write our own stories. Let us define our own problems ngendlela yethu before we go outside as they would. Because the government, I think the voters right now, those who vote, majority are young people. Those who are active are young people. Uma wakhe ekhaya udriver wena ukuthi manje siyangala yabo ukuyovota. So now us is to lobby everyone who's around. It's to lobby the government. It's to lobby those who are in strategic position to buy in our idea, to buy in our mission. Because it's very sad because society in lendlela yona izinto ezakhiwayo around town. It's clubs, yes, it assists lento employment lapha nalaphana, but we have more clubs than schools. Schools that will nurture iskills somfundi. To bridge leyanto le unemployment. We must have something eti. What do we need in a society to be employed? What do we need? Do we need a bartender? You see, do we need a student who's studying gender studies like myself in a society to be employed? You see, we must have such questions to say, what the society needs. And then we can be able to say, those who I'll spend more than 10 years in this university because there's no employment ngaphandle. But ayikho employment because kwayinto ifundelayo ayiqasheki. So if mina ngiyi social work, for instance, I'm studying social work in this university. When I go back to Umlazi, there are many social ills. How do I change that ukuthi ngisebenzele for employment, imsebenzele nomuntu okwi society or osuke or is a victim of ill and those ama social ills? So ngaleyo ndlela uzokwazi ukuziqasha wena. So we are able to channel everything isebenzele and then we move forward. Ugovernment uyosifica ngendlela sisebenza. Yeah.
Thank you actually for sharing those words, Gift. I think as young people, it's very important that we realize ukuthi the ball is in our court. Yeah, understand. That means we must take action into our own societal problems. We must stop being a youth that comes together only to complain, but we must also shortly after that come together to provide solutions. So from the background I'm coming from an actor talking about entrepreneurial leaders in a space of universities where we are shortly going into a larger economy, the workforce, you must ask yourself, Uguti, to solve the challenges that we're facing, high unemployment rates, is that with the resources that you have, the education that you get in classrooms, can you not go out and practice it in the societies that we have? Try to craft solutions that will create more employment opportunities. I think a large fraction of us now need to start taking entrepreneurship as a career as well. Because when you start taking entrepreneurship as a career, that means if I decide to start my own business, I can employ the 4 people that are unemployed next to me. That means not only the government is responsible for unemployment and alleviating poverty and all of that, but we are also part of the mission, which is what Gift is saying. So I think we should actually invest more into building ourselves, the resources that we have around us, and to craft these solutions, and then come to a point where we hold the government accountable for actually assisting us or the lack of assistance on a movement that we are sure of and that we want. I just want to touch on the fact that human rights or rights at all, when you're fighting for rights, you already understand, or you've told yourself that you're worthy of that right. So we must all understand that we are worthy of these opportunities, and we must fight soberly and strongly with the activeness that we have as a youth, because we are worthy of being employed, we are worthy of being entrepreneurs, we are worthy of creating employment opportunities. Thank you.
It's easy for someone listening to this conversation to conclude that, okay, to give context what I'm trying to say, the president recently said, was it that government is not an employer, or is, that's what he said, right? Yes, of the country. And everyone was crying about that. I understand why people are crying about that. But here's what we need to take away from what Gift and Kebo are saying. Gift and Kebo are basically saying, as young people, let's have something that we're putting on the table, right? To a greater extent, it's going to be true that the government cannot employ all of us as an institution, right? But it is responsible for providing the right environment for the next Kebo who wants to start a business to say, okay, the environment is there, the infrastructure is there, the ground is fertile, I can be able to start a business. So I think it's good for us to provide that clarity on why people were actually crying about that statement. It's not from an ignorant position that says, no, but we should be able to employ all of us. No. We understand that it's practically impossible, but equally so, the environment that the government creates for young people is vital.
Okay, I think a big part of the environment we live in is culture and perspectives. You know, it's hard to change a lot of people's minds. I think another factor that power structures lie in is market shares, things that make entrepreneurship hard. You know, it works for some people, such as Pedro's and Honchos. They've been able to compete well with Nando's that's established themselves well in this country. How do we shift cultural perceptions in a way that would favor young entrepreneurs and the transformation we seek to achieve as a country?
Ngizothi nje mfethu ayikho nzima kakhulu lento ukushintsha i-perception. Ngithi it touches a change of scenery. If ngikhulele eNanda ngakhulele eMlazi, then I moved to Howard College, the people I meet there, things that I see, the possibilities that I witness at Howard College, obviously is an impact empilweni yami. So if ngikade ngisemlazi ngikholela ukuthi kunzima ukuziqalela ibhizinisi, it's difficult because you do not have abantu obukela kubona, you do not have ilentuzi umuntu emndenini who can guide you and give you information. And now we space ekuthiwa information hub, institution of higher learning. People from different backgrounds, people who come from families that are influential, make friends with those people. Then once we have grasped everything that will assist you to move forward or to start your own business, you go back to the very same society, then invest there. Come back with information, change the people that obashile the time uze university. So ayikho nzima, just a change of scenery, ube exposed and then come back to your family, come back to change your family, change your neighbor, change your community and the whole society. It's very simple. But if you have opportunities, do not be selfish. Share ideas, share information, share money, share girlfriends, share everything. You see? Because today, she's your girlfriend, she got something from you. in the next day she's dating someone else. Uhambe nayo le information will assist the next person. So the point is, anything or the little thing that you share with someone, iyomsiza omunye umuntu ngelinye ilanga. So it's a change of scenery, getting information, everything that you will need going forward, and so we sell with society, and then everyone would be progressing in life.
Thank you, also, Gift. I firstly like to say or remind everyone, Uguti, when I started, I said I'm excited to be in this space, which is what also Gift is saying. We should challenge ourselves by choosing our association, because the spaces that we are change how we think, how we act. You need to be with people who are moving forward so that you can learn. And also fail fast. You become aware of yourself as well in a space of people like this. You become aware of your environment as well. So back to the question that you posed, how do we change the culture towards entrepreneurship and taking economic action? I'd say you mustn't operate in the space of fear. When something is introduced to you, you must be excited enough to take it on, see what it has for you. You understand, because you'll never know, because it's new. Everyone doesn't know. You must actually say, you know what, I'm going for it, and fail fast, so that we go through the process of trial and error. The sooner we do it, the sooner we know what works and what doesn't. The sooner we find the right solution. It's similar to the slogan of Nike, just do it. So to us, just start. It's as simple as that. Just start, take on the opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Just to reiterate what Gift and Xibo have said, I think in essence it's all in open-mindedness. Be open-minded enough to realize the opportunities that are in front of you and take a step.
Don't have to, right? It's very hard to come after such powerful contributions. So I like the part where we must share. We must share. Yeah, we must share. Because through sharing, we get to not only experience but to acquire. I have a friend of mine I normally engage with on critical issues such as this one. So the other day we were discussing what went wrong in terms of building this country. You see, after 1994, but this is just now our own shared contribution, that we're supposed to have a more deliberate contribution or a more deliberate plan for the country when we seized power in 1994 politically, right? We should have, from that start, created a culture for South Africa, a culture that will go beyond what we already have at the moment. That will be more intentional and will be more deliberate when it comes to addressing our issues and also having a shared and common understanding of what needs to be done as a country. If we could start there, I think most of what is bothering us today, it could be tackled with ease. Because I think the founding father of the nation also says, but people are taught to hate. They could be taught to love as well, right? If you take that approach, even when it comes to such issues, when we're speaking about entrepreneur, the economy, and especially when it comes to also issues of gender-based, how do we tackle these issues? We must be more deliberate, not only from a policy's point of view. I'm not a policy maker yet, but but perhaps there's something I could do in my small circle, in my small corner, which is what we are trying to do today.
Hi everyone, I'm Sembile. The one thing I want to touch on is the whole topic of human rights and young people. So I would say that I feel as if though young people are more absorbed into the idea of things being handed to them. Hence why you find most of them being I wouldn't say skeptical, but they are reserved in terms of going out there and doing things. You'll find someone like maybe they have a business idea or they have an idea to, grow their society or their community, but they would be like, I don't have resources, I don't have a laptop, I don't have computers to start my own internet cafe. And then what are you doing about it? They will tell you that I'm still applying for sponsorship. Is that all? I'm still waiting for government to sponsor or to help or to assist young people. So I feel like the whole concept of human rights, it has made us to be comfortable. It has made us to not have this drive that I'm going to do it. I'm going to find these resources that are not offered to me. So I feel like if we could tackle our mindset first, as Sabila had said, if we could work in our minds first, I think that would be a great starting point. Yeah, thank you.
Show me your friends and I'll show you your net worth. I believe it's Robert Kiyosaki who's always talking about this in his books. So basically we need to surround ourselves with the right people, people who think like us and people who also don't think like us. Many people, when they go out and try to accomplish a goal and they fail, what happens? We give up. But why? We need to start viewing failure as a stepping stone to success rather than a pit stop. So what we need to do is we need to find a support system. And when I talk about a support system, I'm not just talking about family, because most of our family members don't think like us. We need to find friends and individuals who we can surround ourselves with to remind us, youth have potential, you can still go on, just don't stop. So as previous speakers mentioned, it's about mindset. It all starts with mindset. We need to train the way that we think. We need to train others to think the same and just never give up. Always believe in yourself. Always.
Hi, everyone. I personally believe that the change of culture depends on all of us. By that, I mean the intervention in challenging the existing norms and replacing with the new norms. But like we should also intervene in the challenges of gender-based violence. By that, the whole ecosystem of our country should be involved. And we should be leading that as the youth in order to change the old culture that is existing before. The university must be involved. The unemployed youth must be involved because that will create more opportunities for us. They'll be able to see that there's something that we have, and they'll be able to even fund our businesses that are still underground. So the change of culture depends on all of us. Thank you.
I think a very fundamental pillar of the way we function and of the free market is that it takes money to make money, and I imagine that it's hard to maintain a strong sense of mental presence when the failure it takes to eventually succeed in itself has costs, resource costs. I know this is something that you touched on as well. What do you say to those who fear regarding those costs of resources, the cost of failure on the way to success?
Thank you for that question. Firstly, I would like to say success or failures shouldn't be limited to ourselves as well, but it should go back to the people around us who support us. You must create an environment where you are supported enough to know that a failure is just a learning curve. You understand? So to a person who fears failing or the cost involved in that, we must be financially savvy in it as well, taking financial risks, knowing that there are risks and rewards. Be aware that there is a cost to failing before you even fail. So when you get to that, you know that I was going to get to this point either way. So I also want to go touch back on resources for us, especially university students. One thing that you must understand about this environment is we're here to get research on the degrees that we're doing. And there are people who have done it before and specialize in those research, in that research. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a girl who started her own cosmetic product line in the University of Westville using the chemistry department, where when you're out of this university, you have to go look for a plant, pay for that plant, but you have to see opportunity in the space that you are. You just have a student card to access it and start making those products. Use your resources wise, where you don't have to use them after, where it has to cost you, but now understanding, Nguti, you're actually privileged to this environment. Take much from it when you still can. So, yeah.
Wethu mina ngiyakholelwa nje impilo ngafundisa ukuthi idinga inkani. Impilo idinga inkani nje. Ngiyathanda ukusimplify izinto. So ngalokho mina I want to challenge something kwabantu inhlanhla ilentuze indlu sayigcwele. I want to challenge something to everyone. The state of readiness. State of readiness awonke umuntu la ngaphakathi. How many of us if so namhlanje I were to bring ifund? How many are ready to use that money responsibly? Kwabanye, they are not failing because our figure they do not have resources. Some they do have resources. Some have potential funders next to them. But I'm afraid to give it to Uganda because I'm not sure if Ugut read the state of readiness. Even state of readiness to those who will fail. You must be ready to say there's a possibility that I will fail doing 1 and 2 and 3. The state of readiness of everyone. So kubalekile ukuthi siyithinte lanto mfowethu. Now, so that whenever see meet potential fund, we are able to speak, able to convince lobby a low muntu, then you get funding. The funding, you are able to use that money. Thank you.
Okay, I actually appreciate that we are actually discussing the point of failure. But there's something that came to my mind is that we can't forget the fact that in society, failure comes with serious punishment. It starts with school. In university, you fail, you're excluded. In business, you fail, you're blacklisted. So these are real challenges that we need to address as a society, that we need a better structure to address failure. Because we know the reality of failure that comes with pain. So I think as young people, we need to change that perception that no, starting from school, even from early primary school, if someone fails, make sure that you allocate resources to so that the failure is addressed in a way that it's not seen as punishment. Yeah, so that's my point. That in order for us to move forward, we need to address that issue. That failure it shouldn't be seen as punishment, but as an opportunity to get additional resources. Thank you.
Okay, so another point maybe to add on what the president said earlier about being deliberate. I think another thing that will help is that, okay, it becomes very difficult to push on if you're seeing that the people that should be pushing with you are pushing against you. So in being deliberate, we should make sure that we put our leaders to account, to make sure that they make their policies, that legislature makes laws that we can see are helping us to push forward. When they make their laws, when they make their policies, they should really look at the fact if it's beneficial for multinational companies to make money easier in South Africa or for us to make money easier in South Africa. That's what they should consider, so that we have a good environment and have a way to have that security. We know that our government is pushing with us. We know that our lead, although we are having great mindsets, we are not giving up. We're opening ourselves to new opportunities, but we don't have to fight against the people who we put to help us.
I think for us, like, to understand certain things about life, it's not gonna be smooth. Like, there is no way where you like walk like on a smooth pathway and just get everything done just like that. As a person, even if you're starting a business, you need to understand that there'll come a time where you won't get it right. And you not getting it right does not mean like it's done. It just means try harder, which means you can do it better. You're not understanding it now, it means like there is something that is lacking, which means it's trying to push you to do better than what you think you can do. So if we can have a mentality of saying, maybe failure is trying to show me that I am capable of doing greater things, then we can all like achieve greater things. I'm a strong believer of the Bible. I always say there's this in Genesis. So there's a story about Abraham. There was this time where God tempted Abraham to sacrifice his son so that he could like prove his love to God. But Abraham did do that. He did not question God's rules, and because of that, God blessed him, and also there are coming generations. So in whatever you do, also put it in mind that whatever decision I take today, it's not for me. If Bob Steve Biko did not like fight and say, okay, they are not doing anything, we are overpowered, they are oppressing us, all Hector Peterson said, like, then we cannot do anything, we're just kids, we wouldn't be here having these conversations. But because they did like feel like trying harder, like they achieved greater things. So we also have to be like them. We also like have to keep trying like them, because a lot was stopping them. There were a lot of things that were blocking them from fighting the system, but they kept fighting, even when it was not necessary.
As the UK is an finance society, our leading objective is to help students connect from the academic space and what they learn within the academic space, and connecting that to the working environment in this country. To that end, you know, what do you guys believe can be the big takeaway from this talk for us as the society and for UK's at large?
Can I come forward? No, wait. Into engikhula once young people are gathered somewhere, must go inside and uphume as a different person. So I'm sure with everyone who's here today is a better person unalo muntu kade engena uyena la. It would be sad if you enter these premises and you live as the same person. You must have grasped something, learned something. Even myself, I got to grasp many things. Yeah, because it's not like I sit with people like this every day. You see, so a change of scenery has assisted me. The change of personality, understanding yet ayifani. So I have been afforded an opportunity to learn more things Sunday. No, ngingabonga nje kakhulu as the chairperson of this campus. Ngiyabonga.
My last comments to the room here is that we should also challenge ourselves to think in a different way. Let's all be different because it starts in the mind. Let's change our perspective because there's always a good and a bad side. It's a yin and a yang. But we become what we focus more on. You hear some people when they speak, their minds are just more, but they're dark. And some people in the midst of that, they can speak about light. So once we get used to that tongue being in spaces that are solution-driven, then we'll start taking action. Let's take action. What I was noting down is also reimagining everything. Let's think outside of the box. Maybe there's a different world that we can live in. And we must be innovative enough, we must be people who question things enough to actually be willing to do that. So my last comments would be, let's rise to the occasion. Let's not only talk about things, but let's rise to the occasion. Thank you.
Rising to the occasion. Dumiso earlier touched a bit on inequality, and seated here, I am the only female amongst 4 men. And I was actually ambushed into being part of the panel. And I think part of the reason why I initially resisted was at the back of my head, maybe there's something that told me that I might not be worthy of being here as a female amongst 4 men. And society contributes a lot to that women are not equal to men. We cannot do the same things that men can do. But I rose to the occasion and I came here. Didn't contribute much, but I came. I think the most important thing is that I rose to the occasion. So just to wrap it all up, I think representing not only the females who are in the UKZN Finance Society, but maybe females in the UKZN community as a whole, let us, let us make use of the opportunities that we have to make the space that we live in and the world that we live in a better place for all of us. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Well, for me, this has been an eye-opener first. You know, there's this tendency in our societies whenever there's an issue being discussed, the first instinct is to always blame the victim. You know, we see that particularly when we're speaking about issues pertaining to gender-based violence. The first instinct for most people, which is incorrect, by the way, is to always blame the victim. You know. But I would really much like to say I appreciated today's perspective, because as much as we are victims, but we're not dwelling much on that. But ours is to say, now that we're victims all together in the same boat, how do we move forward together? How do we chart a new path for ourselves? How do we make use of what we have for the better? I think I would be remiss if I don't mention the perspective on failure and how we address it, because it's very much correct. We need a way to address failure. How is it that I make one mistake and then I get killed? How am I supposed to grow from that? How am I supposed to learn from that? So really, maybe it could be a research for you academics here. In our small society, which is UKZN, how do we deal with failure? How do we make it a point that it's acceptable that at some point you are going to fail, but how do we make it a point that we don't kill you or we don't crucify you for that failure. And it's important to say that what we want out of this session and the others like it to come is to dwell on what I always call the African way of doing things. African problems need African solutions. We can't be waiting for solutions to be bombarded on us from elsewhere without the proper understanding of the context of where we are and the people that we are. You know, Robert Sobugo puts it very nice and says, here's an African tree, rooted in the African soil, nourished by the waters of the rivers of Africa. Let us then become one in its branches, and its branches become one with us as leaves. You know, it's beautiful in that sense because he truly appreciates the fact that our problems need us. And the book I was reading from Professor Mahwala, he says, I quote, it has become abundantly clear that those who do not know must not lead. We are actually at that point. If you do not know, find means to know so that you could be able to participate constructively in these engagements. And not just participate, but be able to lead society forward. Because we are all leaders here. In your small corner, how are you doing things? How are you capacitating yourself to be able to provide solutions? You know? So I think that's the key takeaway for me, that as young people, we are not going to wait for an invite, but we are going to create our own table and we're going to provide our own solutions for our problems. So thank you, Chair.
Just final remarks. I would just like to say to the viewers that let your surroundings and your environment work for you. Be a man of influence and be a woman of influence. Many are looking up to you and we are never aware of that. So when you allow failure to actually pin you down, then there are a lot of people whom you are indirectly pinning down. So once again, I'm going to say this, let your environment work for you. Be a man of influence, be a woman of influence. Thank you.
I think to conclude on today's proceedings, there is an animated series on Netflix called BoJack Horseman. And in one of the later seasons of the show, the protagonist is struggling to jog. And towards the end of his jog, he's very tired. And a fellow jogger comes to him and says, "It gets easier every day. But you have to do it every day. That's the hard part." So I'd like to thank all of you for being here today, for doing this with us, and I look forward to doing it again with you all. To the viewers, thank you for watching as well, and wishing you all a good day.